This is a tutorial of using the state summary of program coaching. So this spreadsheet is used by state teams who want to summarize coaching data from their program coaches in their state who coach multiple implementation sites. So on this spreadsheet, what you'll have is the first tab is the instructions tab that gives you my name, my email in case you have any issues, the link to this tutorial, and then below that you have some instructions. And so with this spreadsheet, and like the instructions say, the data that you're getting is from your program coach's logs. So you'll need all of your coach's logs in order to use this spreadsheet. The only thing that you'll be doing is copy pasting from their spreadsheet into this one and then adding the coach ID. So if you go to the data entry tab, what you'll see is the column for coach ID, and this column is yellow to let you know that you need to type in the coach ID, the date, program ID, focus, delivery method, time, activity, and notes. These columns here are the same columns that you'll find on the program coach spreadsheet. And so what you'll do is you will have I suggest you open one program coach spreadsheet at a time so that you don't get confused and copy data more than once. So you open your program coach log and then you go to the data entry tab. You'll be copying their data starting from the date column all the way to the notes column. So you'll highlight the data that you want to copy. You'll right click on your mouse and then you can click copy, or on your keyboard you can do Control C. You go back to the state summary spreadsheet. You click on the second column, so you want to make sure you're in the date column, and then you'll paste. And so now that you've pasted, you have to type in the coach ID, and so that's why it's good if you only have one spreadsheet open at a time. So when you go to the one that you just copied, you'll see that you did this for Coach Myrna. So you can come back over here to your state spreadsheet and then either assign that coach an ID or type in the ID for that coach. So then you can just type it once and then copy. So Control C on your keyboard, highlight the other cells that you want to copy that into, and then Control V. And then that way you're typing it once and copying it the rest of the time. Now the one thing I do want to say at this point is that you want to make sure that when you're copying data that you're not duplicating. So if this data was already entered, then you don't want to enter it again. So when you go into your program coach log, let's say you looked at this data for December and January, and now you want to look at February, then you would just highlight February's data, and that's all that you would actually copy into your state spreadsheet, because somewhere up here you've already have December and January. So it's up to you how you do this, but just keep that in mind that the data that you've pasted might already be there, and you don't want to do that because then now it's going to use your all of the data that you've entered, so you'll have duplicated data. So make sure that you know exactly which dates you're pasting in and when. So after you've pasted each of your coach's data, then now you're ready to take a look. So the first tab is a summary across program coaches, and so before you start looking at the data, you'll want to come up to this first table. Just click right here where it says Program Coach ID. A new tab called Pivot Table Tools will appear. Go to Analyze, Refresh, Refresh All, or you can go to Data and Refresh All. And you'll want to make sure that you do this each time you enter data, because more than likely it's not going to update itself, and so you want to make sure that it's capturing all of the data that you've entered. So the first table is a program coach ID, and so it'll list out here however many coaches, program coaches that you have data for, their total time in minutes, their average time spent on coaching in minutes, and then the number of contacts. And then here is the chart that represents this table. One thing to pay attention here is that there are two axes. So on the one side you have the time in minutes, and that's for the blue bar, and the orange bar, that's total time and average time. And then on the other side you have number of contacts, and that's the gray bar. Then below that you have coaching by focus, and then you'll see the two axes here as well, except pay attention that here now we moved into percent of total contacts versus the total number. So just be aware of that. And then the total time and the average time with each focus. Then you have the delivery method, and then the coaching time by activity. So then you'll have each of the activities that have been entered, and then their time, total time, average time, and percent of total contacts. So the only thing that I would tell you just to be aware of is that sometimes a blank will show up in your table. So you might have like this that just shows you blank, and then there's no data, it says 0%, and then on your chart it also shows blank. And so the way to remove that is just going to this arrow, looking for where it says blank, unchecking that box, and clicking OK. And now that blank is gone. So this tab here is across all of your program coaches. So here's where you'll see the data for everyone that you've entered in the data entry tab. The next tab is time. So this is summary of program coaching by time. So it gives you the same table, total time, average time, number of contacts, and then all of your program coach IDs. The only difference here is that now you're able to use filters. So if you only want to look at a certain number of coaches, you can. So if I want to look at coach A, coach B, and coach C, you can do that. So now it'll show you coach A, B, and C, total time, average time, number of contacts, and then it'll chart that here. The way to do that is you can either click on this little box here that says multi-select, so it's a little check marks and lines, and that allows you to click on each one that you want to see. So clicking on them twice removes them, and clicking on them once puts them in. Another way to do that is just to click and then hold down your shift key on your keyboard and then click on the IDs that you want to see, or hitting control if they're not consecutive, then you can hit control. So hold down your control key. So if you hold down your control key, then you can select non-consecutive IDs, so A, C, E, and G. And then to clear that, you want to go back to your original view, which is everyone. Then you click on this little filter icon here, and then it takes you back to the original view. And you'll see here that that blank showed up again. So if you wanted to remove that, you just click there, and now blank is gone again. If you wanted to look at this data by focus, so I just want to look at total time, average time, number of contacts by leadership team, you can click on that, and then it'll show you which program coaches had any focus with the leadership team, the total time, average time, and the number of contacts. And you'll see some of these gray out as you pick different things. Different things gray out. That means that that data is not part of this. So the way that you could interpret this is that coach A, B, C, D, E, and F had data or had coaching with the practitioner coach focus, only delivered face-to-face, and the activities were observing the practitioner, view observation video, or listen to debrief sessions and review fidelity tools. Those were the only two things that were done within these 8 contacts. Okay. And so then you can click on the clear filter. You can also do multiple filters. So if I only want to do, I want to take out some of these, and I only want to look at these two, and I only want to look at face-to-face and assisting with BOQ. So you can do multiple filters if you want, and just know whatever is highlighted in blue is the filters that you have used to get to this table and to this chart. Okay, and so then you can clear those back to their original view. The focus is the same, so you have the total time, average time, and percent of total contacts, you have the different focus here. It has the filters that you can filter your data, and then it has a chart. So you can use the filters if you want. Delivery method, again, it's that same setup. The different delivery methods, time, average time, and percent of contacts, the filters, and then your chart, and then the activity. And then here it will list out all of the different activities, total time, average time, and percent of total contacts, and then you have your chart down here. So once you start having multiple activities, this might be a little hard to read. And so in that case, what I would advise you then is to make it larger, so you can just start moving it over. So you would just, when you go to click on it, you want to click on the outside on the border, and then you can start expanding it using these little circles. So just make sure don't click here in the middle, but rather the outside, and then you can make it larger that way. And that's really all there is to using this spreadsheet. Again, if you have questions, you have any issues, my email is here on the instruction tab, and please feel free to contact me.